A woman, poised and professional, stepping into a gleaming corporate tower only to be met with cold disdain. In a pivotal moment, the interim director, dripping with arrogance, bars her from a high-stakes meeting tied to a $50 million deal that could reshape the company's future. "Black women don't belong in the executive wing," he sneers, mocking her attire and dismissing her as an outsider, while a white intern is ushered in without question. As a black chief strategy officer, she endures ignored greetings, racial assumptions, and outright insults, her authority questioned at every turn. Yet beneath her calm exterior lies a power no one anticipates. Will justice prevail? Stick around. To find out, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Subscribe and hit the bell for our latest stories. What happens when prejudice meets accountability? You won't want to miss the twist. The San Francisco dawn draped the Arctech Dynamics, headquarters in a sheen of pale gold, its glass facade glinting like a blade against the morning sky. Amanda Ramirez, 32, navigated the revolving doors with the precision of someone who'd walked into hostile territory before. Her navy blazer hugged her frame, sharp and understated, paired with a cream blouse that caught the light just so. A leather backpack rested on one shoulder, its weight a quiet reminder of the documents within, her shield, her sword. Her braided hair, meticulously woven, framed a face that held both resolve and restraint. Amanda's steps echoed on the polished marble, each click of her low heels a metronome of purpose. The lobby buzzed with the hum of corporate ambition. Baristas at the in-house cafe steaming oat milk, junior analysts clutching tablets, and the faint chime of elevators ferrying egos to the upper floors. Amanda approached the reception desk, a sleek crescent of black granite manned by Jenna, whose nameplate gleamed under LED lights. Jenna's eyes remained glued to her monitor, fingers dancing across a keyboard, her indifference a practiced art. Amanda offered a warm, "Good morning," her voice steady, inviting acknowledgement. Silence. Jenna's acrylic nails clicked on, the screen's glow reflecting in her glasses, as if Amanda were a ghost. Undeterred, Amanda leaned forward slightly. "I'm here for the 8:45 strategic meeting, 28th floor." Her tone carried the calm authority of someone who'd learned to navigate dismissal. Jenna's gaze didn't lift. The air thickened with the weight of being unseen, a sensation Amanda knew too well, from boardrooms where her ideas were credited to others, from promotions dangled then snatched away. She checked her watch. 8:40. Time was slipping, but she wouldn't rush. Not here, not today. A shadow loomed to her left. Kinsey, a security guard with a buzz cut and a badge pinned to his chest, approached with the slow swagger of petty power. His eyes scanned Amanda, lingering on her backpack, her blazer, her brown skin. "Delivery entrance is out back," he said, voice flat, pointing toward a side exit. "This is for corporate access only." Amanda's lips curved into a faint, controlled smile. "I'm not delivering anything," she replied, her words crisp. "I'm here for a meeting. Executive wing." Kinsey's brow furrowed, as if her response were a puzzle he hadn't expected to solve. "Vendors check in at the service desk," he pressed, his hand resting on the radio clipped to his belt, a subtle threat of escalation. Amanda's grip on her backpack tightened, but her expression remained serene. "My name is Amanda Ramirez." She said, "I was invited, check the register." Kinsey didn't move. His silence screamed assumption, a wall she'd scaled countless times before. The lobby's rhythm continued around them, heels tapping, phones buzzing, a barista calling. "Out a latte order." Amanda's eyes flicked to Jenna, who still hadn't acknowledged the exchange, her fingers relentless on the keys. The guard's radio crackled, but he didn't answer it. Instead, he gestured toward a row of leather chairs along the far wall, the unspoken vendor area, where those deemed lesser were sent to wait. Amanda didn't budge. She'd been here before, not in this lobby, but in this moment, where her presence demanded justification. A memory flickered. Her first job out of college, a tech startup where she debugged critical code only to be asked if she was the intern fetching coffee. Amanda had learned then to carry herself like a fortress, unyielding yet composed. She glanced at her watch again. 8:42. The meeting loomed, a crucible where Arctech's future, a $50 million deal, would be forged. She wasn't just attending, she was meant to shape it. Then a new figure cut through the lobby's hum. Tom Carver, a mid-level manager in a gray suit, his tie slightly askew, slowed as he passed. His eyes raked over Amanda, pausing on her. Backpack, her braids. "You with logistics?" he asked, his tone a mix of curiosity and condescension. "Wrong floor. Try the third." Amanda's smile didn't waver. "I'm exactly where I need to be," she said, her voice a velvet blade. Tom blinked, caught off guard, then shrugged and moved on, muttering something about new hires. The elevator bank beckoned, its brushed steel doors reflecting the lobby's sheen. Amanda took a step toward it, but Kinsey's hand shot. "Up. Ma'am, I need confirmation," he said, his tone hardening. Before she could respond, a young man, Josh, barely 20, white, with a wrinkled shirt and a messenger bag, strolled up to the desk. Jenna's face lit up. "Oh, you're with the intern program, right?" she chirped, handing him a guest pass. "Head right up, they're expecting you." Josh nodded, flustered but unquestioning, and slipped into an elevator. The contrast stung, sharp and familiar. Amanda's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. She opened her phone, scrolling to the email from Rebecca Taylor's office. "Amanda Ramirez, Chief Strategy Officer, effective immediately. Report to the 28th floor, 8:45 a.m. The words grounded her, a tether to her purpose. She wasn't here to prove herself to Kinsey or Jenna. She was here to see Arctech's truth unfiltered, to weigh its culture before the deal's ink dried. "Would you like to see the invite?" Amanda asked Kinsey, her voice calm but pointed. He hesitated, then shook his head. "Wait here," he said, retreating to his post, eyes still tracking her. Amanda didn't sit. She stood, shoulders squared, her backpack a quiet ally. The clock ticked. 8:45. The meeting was starting, and she was still in the lobby, a stranger in a space she was meant to command. But Amanda Ramirez didn't falter. She'd built her career on moments like this, on being underestimated, on turning dismissal into leverage. The elevator dinged, and she stepped forward, pressing the call button herself. Kinsey stirred, but she met his gaze, unyielding. The doors slid open. Amanda entered, her reflection in the steel a portrait of defiance and destiny. The 28th floor awaited, and with it, a reckoning no one saw coming. The elevator doors parted with a soft hiss, revealing the 28th floor of Arctech Dynamics, a realm of glass walls, muted grays, and the faint scent of cedarwood. Polish. Amanda Ramirez stepped out, her low heels sinking into the plush charcoal carpet. The hallway stretched before her, lined with frosted glass offices, their occupants blurred silhouettes behind etched logos. Her leather backpack felt heavier, now not from its contents but from the weight of anticipation. Amanda's braided hair swayed slightly as she moved, her navy blazer a quiet armor against the sterile elegance of this executive domain. A digital clock on the wall blinked 8:47 a.m. 2 minutes late, not by her choice but by the lobby's gatekeepers. The strategic meeting, a linchpin for Arctech's $50 million deal, was already underway behind the double doors of Conference Room A. Amanda approached, her stride deliberate, but a figure emerged from a side corridor, blocking her path. Charles Benson, interim director, loomed with the self-assured bulk of a man accustomed to command. His silver hair was slicked back, his pinstripe suit crisp, but his eyes, cold and appraising, lingered on Amanda's attire, her backpack, her brown skin. "You're in the wrong place," Charles said, his voice a low rumble, laced with the condescension of someone who'd never been questioned. "This is the executive wing. Staff offices are downstairs." Amanda met his gaze, her expression serene but unyielding. "I'm here for the 8:45 meeting," she said, her words clear, each syllable a defiance of his assumption. Charles's brow arched, his lips twitching into a smirk. Meeting? Who invited you? Amanda reached into her backpack, retrieving her phone with the precision of a surgeon. She opened the email from Rebecca Taylor's office, the subject line stark. Strategic briefing, 28th floor. Amanda Ramirez, authorized attendee. This came from the chairwoman's office, she said, holding the screen toward him. Charles barely glanced at it. I don't know what that is, he said, waving a dismissive hand. I approve every name on that list, and yours isn't on it. Must be a clerical error. The hallway's silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant hum of an air vent. Amanda's pulse quickened, but her face betrayed nothing. She'd faced this before. Men like Charles, who wielded authority like a blunt weapon, who saw her Latin heritage as a footnote rather than a strength. It's not an error, she said, her voice steady. I was specifically requested. Charles crossed his arms, his smirk widening. Requested? For what? To take notes? You'll need to wait out here until I sort this out. Amanda didn't move. Her eyes flicked to the conference room doors, where muffled voices leaked through. Executives debating market shares, timelines, the deal that could redefine Arctech's future. She belonged in there, not in this limbo. But Charles's stance, feet planted wide, made it clear he relished this gatekeeping. Check with your assistant, Amanda suggested, her tone calm but pointed. Or call Ms. Taylor's office. Charles snorted. I don't need to call anyone. I run this floor. A memory surfaced unbidden, her first Silicon Valley pitch where a venture capitalist had interrupted her to ask if she was the diversity hire. Amanda had smiled then, too, and delivered a presentation that secured the funding. Now, she stood her ground, her backpack a quiet anchor. But before she could press further, the elevator dinged, and Josh, the rumpled intern from the lobby, stumbled out, his messenger bag swinging. Charles's demeanor shifted instantly. Josh, there you are, he called, clapping the young man's shoulder. Come on in. We've saved you a seat. Amanda watched, her jaw tightening, as Josh, unvetted and unquestioned, was ushered toward the conference room. His wrinkled shirt and scuffed sneakers seemed invisible to Charles, who didn't ask for an ID or an invite. The disparity was a blade, sharp and familiar. Josh glanced at Amanda, his eyes flickering with confusion, but he said nothing, disappearing behind the doors. The hallway felt colder now, its glass walls closing in. She checked her watch. 8:50. The meeting was slipping further from her grasp, but Amanda refused to yield. She leaned against the wall, her backpack resting at her feet, and opened her phone again, rereading the email. Chief Strategy Officer, effective immediately. The words were her lifeline, a reminder of the power she carried, unseen by those who judged her on sight. She typed a quick note to herself. Kinsey, Jenna, Charles, document everything. This wasn't just a meeting, it was a test, and she was already gathering evidence. Footsteps echoed from the corridor. Lauren Mitchell, a young assistant in a tailored blazer, hurried toward her, clutching a tablet. Her face was flushed, her eyes wide with panic. Ms. Ramirez, she said, breathless. I'm so sorry, there's been a mix-up. I just saw the email from Ms. Taylor's office. You're needed in the meeting. Now. Amanda straightened. Her smile faint but genuine. Thank you, Lauren, she said, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. The assistant's apology hung in the air, a crack in the facade of Arctech's hierarchy. Lauren pushed open the conference room doors, and Amanda stepped forward, the hallway's weight lifting with each stride. Inside, the room was a fortress of power, a long mahogany table, leather chairs, and a wall of screens displaying financial projections. Executives in tailored suits turned, their chatter fading as Amanda entered. Charles, already at the head of the table, froze mid-sentence, his eyes narrowing. What's this? He demanded, his voice sharp. Lauren stammered. She's on the list, sir, Ms. Taylor. Sit. Charles cut her off, pointing to a chair at the table's far end, his tone dripping with irritation. Amanda complied, her movements deliberate, placing her backpack beside her. The room's eyes followed, some curious, others dismissive. Charles leaned toward an older executive, muttering, "Probably HR's diversity quota." The man chuckled, and Amanda's fingers tightened around her pen, but her face remained a mask of composure. She opened her backpack, withdrawing a sleek notebook and a folder marked "Confidential." The room resumed its rhythm, but Amanda felt the undercurrent of scrutiny. Charles launched into an overview of the $50 million deal, his voice booming, oblivious to the woman at the table's edge, who was not here to listen but to observe. She jotted a note. Charles assumes control, dismisses without evidence. Another memory flickered, her mother, a janitor, teaching her to stand tall when others looked down. Amanda's pen moved faster, her resolve hardening. The clock ticked. 9. The meeting was in full swing, but Amanda Ramirez sat in silence, her presence a quiet storm gathering strength. She wasn't here to plead for a seat, she was here to claim it. And as Charles droned on, unaware of the reckoning brewing, Amanda's eyes scanned the room, cataloging every glance, every slight. The hallway had tested her patience. This room would test her power. The conference room of Arctech Dynamics pulsed with the taut energy of ambition, its mahogany table a battlefield strewn with laptops, coffee cups, and the weight of a $50 million deal. Amanda Ramirez sat at the table's edge, her leather backpack a silent sentinel by her chair. The screens on the far wall flickered with projections, revenue curves, market shares, the fragile hope of a company teetering on the brink. Charles Benson, interim director, stood at the helm, his voice a commanding baritone as he dissected the Japanese partnership's potential. Amanda's pen hovered over her notebook, her braided hair catching the light as she observed, unnoticed, a shadow in a room of egos. Charles gestured to a slide, his cufflinks glinting. "We're looking at a 30% market expansion if we secure this," he said, eyes sweeping past Amanda as if she were furniture. She shifted, raising a hand to interject, a point about currency fluctuation risks. But Charles cut her off with a dismissive wave. "Hold off, miss," he said, his tone sharp. "Let the experts handle this, you can take notes." A few executives chuckled, their laughter a barbed wire around Amanda's resolve. She lowered her hand, her expression serene, but her pulse a drumbeat of restraint. The room churned with discussion, voices overlapping, supply chains, regulatory hurdles, timelines, Amanda's notebook filled with precise annotations, not of the deal, but of the dynamics, who deferred to Charles, who avoided her gaze, who whispered when she moved. She'd been here before, in rooms where her expertise was buried under assumptions about her skin, her gender, her heritage. But today, Amanda Ramirez was not just a participant, she was a judge, and the verdict was forming. At 9:15, the air shifted. The double doors swung open with a decisive thud, and Rebecca Taylor, chairwoman of the parent conglomerate, entered like a storm cloaked in silk. Her silver hair was pulled into a chignon, her charcoal suit a study in understated power. The room fell silent, executives straightening as if pulled by strings. Charles faltered mid-sentence, his marker hovering over the whiteboard. "Chairwoman Taylor," he said, forcing a smile. "We weren't expecting—" Rebecca's gray eyes swept the room, landing on Amanda with a nod of recognition. "I'm here to clarify expectations," she said, her voice crisp, slicing through the tension. "Allow me to introduce Amanda Ramirez, your new Chief Strategy Officer. She has full authority over the strategic merger and reports directly to me." The words detonated, a silent explosion that drained the color from Charles's face. My marker slipped, clattering to the floor. Amanda stood, her movements fluid, and placed her notebook on the table, its pages a map of the room's sins. Gasps rippled, soft but sharp, like the rustle of leaves before a tempest. Charles stammered, "There's been a misunderstanding. I wasn't informed." Rebecca raised a hand, silencing him. There's no misunderstanding, she said. The board appointed Amanda. Her role was kept confidential to ensure an unfiltered assessment. The room's eyes darted to Amanda, some wide with shock, others narrowed with suspicion. She met them all, her composure a fortress. Amanda opened her folder, revealing a stack of documents, emails, charts, and a USB drive. I've been reviewing Arctech's operations, she said, her voice steady, resonant. This deal is critical, but so is the culture enabling it. She slid a printout across the table. An internal email chain, flagged for derogatory language, about minority hires. This was circulated last quarter, she said, her gaze locking on Charles. It calls employees like me diversity checkboxes. The room stilled, the air thick with unease. Amanda tapped the USB drive. Security. Footage, she continued, shows a pattern of verbal intimidation by senior leadership. One instance dated last month involves a junior engineer berated for not fitting the company image. She didn't name Charles, but his jaw tightened, his hands clenching. Amanda's eyes flicked to the screens where she projected a chart, hiring demographics. 80% of your leadership is white male, she said. This isn't a coincidence. It's a choice. A senior executive, Victor Hayes, coughed, shifting in his seat. Ms. Ramirez, these are serious claims, he said, his tone cautious. Amanda nodded, undeterred. They're not claims, they're data. She revealed her final card, a financial memo stamped with the parent company's seal. Last year, I authorized a $10 million investment from our venture fund to keep Arctech solvent, she said. Without it, this room would be empty, and this deal would be a fantasy. Revelation landed like a thunderclap. Charles's lips parted, but no sound emerged. Amanda stepped forward, her presence filling the space Charles had dominated. I'm not here to disrupt for the sake of it, she said, her voice a blend of steel and conviction. But I won't let a toxic culture sabotage this company's future. She projected a new slide, an internal audit, Charles's name highlighted under high ethical risk, linked to 17 suppressed complaints. The room's silence was a living thing, heavy and accusing. Charles found his voice hoarse and desperate. This is absurd, he said. I've led this company through crises. She doesn't understand our culture. Amanda's eyes met his, unflinching. Your culture, she said, is why I'm here. The words hung, a guillotine poised to fall. Rebecca stepped beside her, her presence a silent endorsement. We'll address leadership accountability post-meeting, she said, her tone final. For now, Ms. Ramirez has the floor. Amanda closed her folder, her braided hair catching the light as she surveyed the room. The executives avoided her gaze, their confidence crumbling. She'd come to claim her place, and the declaration was only the beginning. The deal, the company, the future, they were hers to shape, and she would not be silenced. The conference room at Arctech Dynamics thrummed with a brittle silence, the air charged as if lightning had just struck. Amanda Ramirez stood at the table's edge, her folder closed, her braided hair a dark crown under the fluorescent glare. The screens behind her still displayed the damning audit slide, Charles Benson's name in bold red under high ethical risk. The executives sat frozen, their laptops dimming from neglect, coffee cups forgotten. Charles, at the head of the table, gripped the edge, his knuckles white, his silver hair disheveled from a hand dragged through it in panic. Amanda's declaration as chief strategy officer, backed by Rebecca Taylor's unyielding presence, had shifted the room's gravity, and now every eye awaited the fallout. Charles's voice cracked the stillness, hoarse with defiance. This is a witch hunt, he spat, rising to his feet, his pinstripe suit creased. You don't understand how we operate here, Ms. Ramirez. This isn't some startup playground. This is American business. His words, laced with venom, landed on Amanda's Latin heritage like a pointed dart. She didn't flinch. Her eyes, steady and piercing, held his. Your version of business, she said, her voice a quiet blade. excuses bias as tradition and calls intimidation leadership. That ends now. The room stirred, a ripple of uneasy glances. Victor Hayes, a senior executive with wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward, his tone measured but probing. Ms. Ramirez, you're making bold accusations. Can you substantiate them beyond documents? Amanda's lips curved into a faint, controlled smile. She reached into her folder, producing a small audio device, its sleek design glinting ominously. Listen for yourself, she said, pressing play. Charles's voice filled the room, tinny but unmistakable. Recorded in a private call. Don't hire too many Latinos. They're hard to manage, always pushing back. Gasps punctuated the air, sharp and involuntary. Charles's face drained of color, his mouth opening, then closing like a fish stranded on shore. Amanda stopped the recording, her gaze sweeping the table. This isn't an isolated incident, she said, her voice resonant with authority. Anonymous reports from your staff detail favoritism, suppressed promotions, and a culture where dissent is punished. She slid a stack of printed complaints. Across the table, each page stamped with HR's ignored seals. These voices were silenced. I'm here to amplify them. The executive shifted, some flipping through the pages, others staring at their hands, complicity a weight they could no longer ignore. Charles rallied, his voice rising, desperate. You're twisting context. I've kept this company afloat through recessions, trade wars. You think you can waltz in and lecture me? He jabbed a finger toward Amanda, his face flushed. You don't belong at this table. The words hung, ugly and raw, a mirror to the prejudice she'd faced since the lobby. Amanda stepped closer, her backpack a shadow at her feet, her presence towering. I belong exactly where I stand, she said, each word deliberate. You've mistaken your title for competence, Charles, and your judgment is biased. The board sees it. The numbers prove it. Rebecca Taylor, silent until now, rose from her chair, her charcoal suit a stark contrast to the room's chaos. Enough, she said, her voice cutting through like a gavel. Charles Benson, you are suspended from all duties, effective immediately. Your system access will be revoked within the hour, pending a formal ethics investigation. The pronouncement was clinical, absolute. Charles staggered back, his chair scraping the floor. You can't do this, he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction, a hollow echo of the man who'd mocked Amanda hours ago. A security officer entered, his badge gleaming, his demeanor professional but firm. Mr. Benson, please come. With me, he said, gesturing toward the door. Charles's eyes darted, searching for allies, but the room offered none. Victor looked away, his glasses reflecting the screens. Another executive scribbled furiously, avoiding the scene. Charles grabbed his tablet, his movements jerky, and followed the officer out, the doors closing with a dull thud. The silence that followed was a living thing, heavy with the wreckage of his fall. Amanda turned to the table, her composure unbroken. This isn't about one man, she said, her voice steady, commanding. It's about a system that let him thrive. We start fixing it today. She outlined her plan, a 4-week leadership retraining program, promotions tied to anonymous employee feedback, and bonuses linked to ethical conduct. The executives nodded, some reluctantly, others with dawning respect. Amanda's vision was clear, a company where talent, not privilege, defined success. Alone in Charles's former office, Amanda stood by the window, the San Francisco skyline a mosaic of steel and glass. The room with its leather chairs and mahogany desk still carried his scent, cologne and arrogance. She opened her phone, finding a message from Lauren Mitchell, the assistant who'd ushered her in. I was scared to speak up before. Thank you. You for showing me how. Amanda typed a reply. You're already braver than you know. A memory flickered. Her mother's hands, calloused from years of cleaning offices, teaching her to fight with grace. Amanda's resolve deepened. This was her arena now. Back in the conference room, the executives dispersed, their murmurs subdued. Amanda lingered, gathering her folder, her backpack a quiet companion. She'd faced Charles's fury and won, but the real battle, reshaping Arctech's soul, lay ahead. As she stepped into the hallway, Lauren approached, her tablet clutched tight. "Ms. Ramirez," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I found more reports. They were buried in a locked drive." Amanda nodded, her eyes alight with purpose. "Bring them to me," she said. "We're just getting started." The clock struck 10:04 a.m. The $50 million deal loomed, but Amanda Ramirez saw beyond it to a future where no one would be dismissed at the door, where every voice mattered. She walked toward the elevator, her braided hair catching the light, her steps a promise of change. The confrontation was over, but the reckoning was just beginning. The 28th floor of Arctech Dynamics buzzed with a new rhythm, its glass walls reflecting the late morning light in sharp, hopeful glints. Amanda Ramirez stood in her new office, a corner suite stripped of Charles Benson's ostentatious decor. The mahogany desk was bare save for her laptop and a single framed photo of her mother, smiling in a sunlit garden. Amanda's navy blazer hung on a chair, her sleeves rolled up, her braided hair catching the glow of a city skyline that felt closer now, hers to shape. Her leather backpack rested by the door, a quiet emblem of the battle she'd won to claim this space. At 10:30 a.m., Amanda convened a company-wide meeting in the auditorium, a cavernous room with tiered seats and a massive screen. Employees streamed in, engineers in hoodies, analysts in pressed shirts, custodians in navy uniforms, their faces a mix of curiosity and caution. Amanda stood at the podium, her presence commanding without force. "Arctech stands at a crossroads," she began, her voice clear, resonant. "We've secured a path forward, but it's not just about deals. It's about who we are." She announced her restructuring plan. 4 weeks of mandatory leadership training on diversity and ethics, promotions based on anonymous employee feedback, and bonuses tied to respect, not just results. The crowd stirred, some nodding, others whispering, the weight of change palpable. A young engineer, Maria, stood during the Q&A, her voice trembling but firm. "I was pushed out of a project last year," she said, "told I didn't blend in. Charles signed off on it." The room hushed, eyes darting to Amanda. She stepped from the podium, meeting Maria's gaze. "That stops now," she said, her words a vow. "Send me the details. We'll investigate, and you'll be heard." Maria sat, tears brimming, and a ripple of applause broke out, tentative, but growing. Amanda's heart swelled. This was why she fought. Back in her office, Amanda sifted through a flood of anonymous reports, each a shard of Arctech's hidden truths. Overlooked talent, silenced complaints, favoritism cloaked as merit. Her phone buzzed, a call from her mother. "Mija, you sound tired," her mother said, her voice warm, weathered. Amanda admitted the pressure, the eyes watching her every move. "You're not just fighting for you," her mother replied. "You're fighting for the ones who clean offices at night, who dream but can't speak." Amanda smiled, her resolve reignited. She hung up, turning to a new email. The Japanese partners wanted her to lead the $50 million deal's final talks. She typed a reply. "I'll represent Arctech on our terms." But a shadow loomed. Tom Carver, a mid-level manager, with slicked back hair and a penchant for office politics, was rallying dissent. In a dimly lit break room, he met with a clique of older executives, their ties loosened, voices low. "She's tearing down what we built," Tom hissed, his eyes glinting with resentment. "Ramirez is too radical, diversity quotas, anonymous, niching. It's chaos." They drafted an unsigned letter to the board, accusing Amanda of destabilizing Arctech's core values. The letter, slipped into an executive's inbox, was meant to wound silently. Amanda sensed the undercurrent. Her inbox pinged with a tip from Lauren Mitchell, the assistant who'd become her ally. "Check the server logs. Tom's been accessing restricted files." Amanda dug in, uncovering Tom's digital fingerprints on the letter. She didn't confront him publicly. Instead, she invited him to her office. The room, with its floor-to-ceiling windows, felt like a courtroom as Tom entered, his smirk faltering under Amanda's steady gaze. "Tom," she said, her voice calm but incisive, "do you want Arctech to grow or stagnate?" He shifted, mumbling about tradition. Amanda leaned forward. "Tradition that buries talent isn't worth saving. Choose a side." Tom left, his defiance cracked, his loyalty to the old guard wavering. Downstairs, the lobby bore scars of change. Jenna, the receptionist who'd ignored Amanda, stood at her logged-out terminal, an HR representative handing her a termination notice. "I just followed protocol," Jenna protested, her voice shrill. Amanda, passing through, paused. "Protocol that dismisses people based on assumptions isn't protocol," she said, her tone firm but not cruel. "It's prejudice." Jenna's eyes dropped, and Amanda moved on, her low heels clicking with purpose. The lobby, once a gauntlet, now felt less hostile, its air lighter with accountability. By noon, Amanda reviewed the training curriculum, a rigorous blend of case studies and role-plays designed to confront bias head-on. She added a personal touch, a session on her journey, from a coder overlooked for her heritage to a leader reshaping a corporate giant. The curriculum was emailed company-wide, with a note: "Change starts with us. Be ready." Responses flooded. Some skeptical, others grateful. A janitor wrote, "I've never seen a boss care about us. Thank you." Amanda pinned the message to her board, a reminder of her stakes. As the day waned, Amanda stood at her window, the San Francisco Bay a shimmering expanse below. The city's pulse mirrored her own, relentless, alive. She thought of Maria, of the janitor, of her mother's hands rough from years of toil. This restructuring wasn't just policy, it was a promise to those who'd been unseen. Her phone lit up. Rebecca Taylor, confirming the Japanese partner's request. "They want you in Tokyo next week. Lead the signing." Amanda's reply was swift. "I'll be there, representing a new Arctech." But Tom's dissent lingered, a quiet threat. Amanda opened her laptop, drafting a memo to the board. "Resistance to change is expected. Results will silence it." She attached data, employee engagement surveys showing a 20% uptick since her arrival, proof that her vision was taking root. The fight was far from over, but Amanda Ramirez was no stranger to battles. She closed her laptop, her braided hair catching the fading light, and stepped into the hallway. The 28th floor hummed with possibility, and she was its architect, building a future where no one would be left in the shadows. Tokyo's skyline glittered through the conference room's floor-to-ceiling windows, a mosaic of neon and steel under a velvet dusk. Amanda Ramirez stood at the head of a sleek glass table, her navy blazer swapped for a tailored charcoal suit that radiated quiet authority. Her braided hair was pinned neatly, framing eyes that held both warmth and steel as she faced Hiroshi Tanaka, the CEO of Nippon Tech, Arctech Dynamics prospective partner. The $50 million deal, a fusion of AI platforms, was moments from sealing, and Amanda was its linchpin. Her leather backpack, now a familiar talisman, rested by her chair, grounding her in this high-stakes arena. Tanaka, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, leaned forward, his voice measured. "Ms. Ramirez, your proposal is bold, but do you have the authority to commit Arctech fully?" The question, polite yet probing, hung in the air. Amanda's smile was steady, her presence filling the room. "I don't just have authority," she said, her tone clear, unyielding. "I'm the one who kept Arctech standing to make this deal possible." She slid a tablet across the table, displaying a streamlined integration plan, her vision for merging their technologies. Tanaka's advisors murmured, impressed as Amanda walked through risk mitigations, her command of details silencing doubts. By the end, Tanaka's nod was decisive. "We sign tonight," he said, extending a hand. Amanda shook it, her grip firm, the ink of victory moments away. Back in San Francisco, a storm brewed. Tom Carver, his ambition bruised by Amanda's ascent, seized her absence to rally dissent. In a shadowed boardroom, he gathered a cadre of loyalists, graying executives nostalgic for Charles Benson's reign. "Ramirez is dismantling our legacy," Tom whispered, his voice venomous, his tie askew. "Anonymous feedback, ethics training. She's turning Arctech into a social experiment." They plotted to undermine her, circulating memos questioning her radical reforms. Tom's confidence swelled, believing distance dulled Amanda's reach. But Amanda's allies were vigilant. Lauren Mitchell, the assistant-turned-confidant, caught wind of the scheme. Late at night, her fingers flew across her laptop, uncovering Tom's encrypted meeting logs. She recorded a damning exchange, Tom urging executives to resist the takeover, and sent it to Amanda's secure inbox with a note. "They're moving against you. Be careful." In her Tokyo hotel, Amanda listened to the audio, her jaw tightening. The city's hum outside her window felt like a heartbeat, urging action. She dialed Rebecca Taylor, her voice calm but urgent. "Tom's orchestrating a coup," she said. "We need to act before he poisons the board." Rebecca, in her San Francisco penthouse, wasted no time. She convened an emergency board meeting, her silver hair gleaming under the chandelier. The audio played, Tom's voice echoing through the room, each word a self-inflicted wound. Executives shifted, their faces pale. "This is insubordination," Rebecca said, her tone icy. "Tom Carver will answer for it." When Tom was summoned, his smirk faded as the recording looped, his allies silent. "I was protecting our values," he stammered, but Rebecca's raised hand silenced him. "You're demoted to advisory pending review," she declared. "Step out of line again and you're gone." Tom slunk away, his influence shattered. In Tokyo, Amanda sat alone in her hotel room, the signed contract glowing on her tablet. Her phone buzzed with employee emails, a chorus of gratitude. "I got a promotion I never thought possible. My voice matters now." One, from a Latina intern, read, "You make me believe I can lead someday." Amanda's eyes stung, the weight of her mission sinking in. She opened her laptop, announcing a new initiative. The Elena Ramirez Scholarship, named for her mother, to fund education for minority employees. It was her way of planting seeds for the future, ensuring others wouldn't face the barriers she. And the Tokyo skyline faded as Amanda boarded her flight home, her mind racing. Tom's rebellion was quelled, but the fight for Arctech's soul persisted. She drafted a board update, her words sharp. "Change is non-negotiable. Those who resist will be left behind." The plane's hum lulled her into a rare moment of reflection. She thought of her mother's hands, rough from years of labor, and the intern's words, a torch passed forward. Amanda's power wasn't just in contracts or titles. It was in building trust, in carving paths where none existed. As the plane touched down in San Francisco, Amanda stepped into Arctech's lobby, the glass doors parting like a curtain. Employees paused, their applause spontaneous, a wave of respect that warmed her core. She smiled, her braided hair catching the morning light, and addressed the crowd. "This is our beginning," she said, her voice a beacon. "Together we'll build something unstoppable." The lobby, once a gauntlet, now felt like home, its energy hers to harness. Amanda Ramirez had faced the test of power and emerged, not just victorious but transformative, her legacy already taking root. 6 months later, the Arctech Dynamics headquarters pulsed with a vitality that hadn't existed before. The San Francisco sun poured through its glass facade, bathing the lobby in a warm glow that felt like renewal. Amanda Ramirez stood on the 28th floor, her office a sanctuary of purpose with a view of the bay's shimmering expanse. Her charcoal suit was sharp, her braided hair a quiet crown, and the framed photo of her mother on the desk anchored her to the roots of her fight. The leather backpack, now a relic of her arrival, sat in a corner, its presence a reminder of the gauntlet she'd overcome. Arctech's transformation was undeniable. The company announced a 30% quarterly profit surge, fueled by the Japanese partnership Amanda had sealed. Forbes crowned her Innovator of 2025, her face gracing their cover, a Latina leader redefining corporate America. But for Amanda, the real victory was in the cubicles and break rooms, where employees like Maria, the engineer once sidelined, now led projects with confidence. The mandatory ethics training she'd mandated was now a cornerstone, its sessions packed with managers, grappling with their biases. Anonymous feedback drove promotions, elevating voices once ignored, and bonuses rewarded respect as much as revenue. In the auditorium, Amanda hosted a town hall, the screen behind her flashing metrics. Employee retention up, diversity in leadership doubled. "This isn't my legacy," she told the crowd, her voice resonant, carrying the weight of conviction. "It's ours. Every one of you who spoke up, who challenged the old ways, built this." The applause was thunderous, a testament to a culture reborn. Maria approached afterward, now a team lead, and handed Amanda a thank you note. "You showed me I belong," she said, her eyes bright. Amanda clasped her hand, her heart full. This was the change she'd envisioned. Whispers of Charles Benson surfaced, a faint echo from the past. Word spread that he'd joined a diversity workshop mentoring startups in Oakland, his arrogance replaced by a quiet introspection. An email arrived in Amanda's inbox, his name stark in the sender line. "I was wrong," he wrote, his words raw. "I'm trying to make amends." Amanda considered, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She typed a reply. "Prove it through your actions, not your words." Her response was firm, not vengeful, a reflection of her belief that redemption was possible, but earned. The boardroom, once a battlefield, now hummed with collaboration. Victor Hayes, once skeptical, now championed Amanda's reforms, presenting data on reduced turnover. "You've changed the game," he told her, his glasses glinting with respect. Amanda nodded, her mind already on the next challenge. Rebecca Taylor called, her voice crisp over the line. "Another firm needs your vision," she said. "Are you ready?" Amanda's smile was fierce. "Always," she replied, her eyes on the horizon. In a quiet moment, Amanda stood at her window, the city's lights flickering like stars. She traced the skyline, her thoughts drifting to her mother's lessons. Resilience forged in late-night shifts, pride in a heritage that carried her forward. The Amanda Ramirez Scholarship was thriving, funding dreams for employees who'd once felt invisible. Amanda's legacy wasn't in headlines, but in those lives, in the paths she'd cleared. The lobby called her back, its marble floors now a stage of equality. As Amanda descended, she spotted a young Latina employee, backpack slung over her shoulder, hesitating at the reception desk. The new receptionist, trained under Amanda's protocols, glanced up but didn't engage, a faint echo of past indifference. Amanda's stride quickened, her presence a beacon. "I'm Amanda," she said, extending a hand. "You're here for the internship, right? Come with me, you belong on this floor." The young woman's eyes widened, a spark of recognition igniting. They walked to the elevator, Amanda's low heels clicking in rhythm with her new ally's steps. The doors closed and Amanda saw her reflection, not just the chief strategy officer, but the daughter of a janitor, the coder who'd fought for her seat, the leader who'd rewritten the rules. The intern's backpack mirrored her own, a symbol of potential waiting to bloom. "What's your name?" Amanda asked, her voice warm. "Sophia," the intern replied, shy but steady. Amanda smiled. "Sophia, you're going to do great things. Here." As they ascended, Amanda's phone buzzed, a Slack message from an employee. "Thank you for making Arctech a place where I can be myself." She pocketed the phone, her heart steady. The elevator dinged, opening to the 28th floor, now a realm of possibility. Amanda stepped out, Sophia at her side, and the hallway stretched before them, bright with promise. Her legacy wasn't a monument but a movement, a company where Every voice could rise where no one would wait in the shadows. Amanda Ramirez had changed more than Arctech. She'd changed the future, and it was only the beginning. Thank you for joining us on Amanda Ramirez's transformative journey in Ngoy Kong Idutin Silat Ko. Her story of courage, accountability, and legacy challenges us to rethink power and possibility. What moved you most? Was it Amanda's unflinching stand against bias, the ripple of change at Arctech, or the quiet power of her redemption offered to Charles? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear your perspective. Your voice fuels these narratives, so subscribe and hit the bell for more stories that inspire and provoke. Together, let's keep the conversation alive about building a world where every talent shines. Thank you for being part of this, and we can't wait to meet you again in our next tale. Until then, keep pushing for what's right.